Welcome back, everyone. This will be part 2 of the Philco 60 radio restore. Could be the final part. Depends on how I get along on repairing this radio and restoring it. It's on off volume control. I would like to take it apart and clean it. And I'm going to be really careful. Prise those tabs, those 4 tabs back, and hopefully I can just get it apart enough to do a little cleaning inside it. You don't want to spread these too far too quick, they're liable to break off. Just try to be really careful. Well, luckily this is just a pretty straightforward switch. There's a switch right there. Then we got a little tab here that just hits the switch. There we go, just like that. I think these 2 wires going to the switch need a little bit of attention. Much better.
Ready to take your investments to the next level? Diversify like the pros.
Much better.
Trade without tax.
So next we'll tackle the mode switch. Alright, looks a little better. And I did replace this white wire here. It goes to this terminal. It was too short and they had it soldered to the end of this resistor. So I just put a new wire on there. It goes up to the antenna input coil. So that leaves the tone switch, and we'll get it pulled out and get it taken care of. And this wire that goes from the tone switch up to the output tube. Insulation's, you can see it's brittle. So I'll be putting a new wire on that. And it goes from pin 2 of the output tube down to the tone switch. And to pull my new wire down through the side of the chassis there, I just tie it onto the old wire, and hopefully it'll pull it right through there. So let's see how that works. There it is. There's our new wire. This old one, look how brittle it is. And a little bit of cleaning before I put it back in.
The Western Kentucky chapter of the American Red Cross, their executive director. Do you know her?
All right, our tone control
We're going to speak to her in
working
about 5
fine.
minutes or so.
One thing I did notice, whoever had worked on this radio before had this .006 connected to the tone switch. And what it does, it gives a little deeper tone on bass and a little deeper on treble too. So
Weather events.
it's not on the schematic. I don't think that was part of the original radio, because here's the tone switch, and there's the only thing connected to it is just a wire going up to the plate of the tube. I may hook that back up. It's just a matter, I could attach it up here on the output tube, just a 006 to ground, and that does change the tone a little bit. So I may think about that. We've got the on-off volume, the mode switch, and the tone switch all taken care of. So I think the next thing will be those Bakelite networks. And I've taken some pretty up close photos of each one of the 6 networks. I'm going to start with this first one that the power cord connects to. It's a 2-section 0.015. That's what they put in here for the tube. So I'll just be unhooking all these wires, take this thing out, see if we can get those old caps out of there. But I'm going to do one at a time. What I mean by that, I'm going to do one, get it put back in the radio, turn it on, make sure everything still works okay. That way if I did make a mistake, I could find my mistake pretty easily. Where if I done 3 or 4 or all 6 of them, and then the radio didn't play, I'd have a lot of backtracking to do to figure out where I messed up. So one at a time, this is going to be first. Well, pleasant surprise. Someone has already removed all of that old tar or whatever they used in them to seal that up. So wouldn't it be nice if all the rest of these are empty on the inside? Clean those connections out, mount the caps inside, and move on. Alright, first one's done. Lucky that one didn't have any tar in it. Still playing fine. So we'll move to this next one right here. Well, not so lucky on this second one. Still got that tar-like material sealed up, so we're going to have to get that out. We'll take the heat gun and see if we can get that goo out of there. Alright, let's see how this works. And I'm just taking a little pick, pushing through the holes in the bottom, and that's moved it some. Alright, that wasn't too bad. So just a little bit of heat, and take this pick and push through the holes on the bottom, get it started, and then just kind of prise it. Just be careful when you prise this. This Bakelite, I'm sure, is pretty brittle, but they got it out of there. Get the new cap in, and I've saved most of the old black tar-like substance. A little piece missing right there, but I'll just take some black silicone, go around that, seal it in, and we'll call that done. Back in. Looks much better. And you'll notice little washer that goes between the Bakelite block and chassis, so I want to make sure that you don't leave that out. Surprise, surprise, this one is empty. They did break it on the side here whenever they got that out, both sides actually, so we'll patch that up. But heck, I wanted to use that heat gun again, but I probably will be able to on maybe one of them last 3 that we have left.
Has the tall household seen in Tonto?
On to the next one, which would be this one right here. Another empty one. But hey, I'm not complaining. Makes it a lot easier. And this network, they'd put a terminal on the ground end. And then they had this is a .00011 cap they had connected from there over to the other terminal here. But we're not going to use that. We're going to put them both inside. Alright, finished on this one. Radio's still playing fine, so we'll go to the next one. It's actually just a single section is all it is between here and here. And this is just a tie point. Runs from this power resistor back to this tie point. So that's all that's being used for. There's nothing in there. You can kind of tell by looking in the hole there, there's nothing inside it. I mentioned earlier that this 4-bank condenser network is missing. Normally mounts right in here. So I found what they've done. Here's the 4 caps that are supposed to be inside that network. And this is just a ground tie point for all 4. And they go to associated circuitry there where each one connects to. So we're going to try to do something there. I don't have the housing that those go in, so I may just have to reduce the size maybe and still connect them up, but that's what's going on there. Well, another empty one. It just amazes me that someone goes to all the trouble of digging that black tar out, taking the caps out, and then tacking them in on the outside. I guess back when that was done, maybe they weren't small enough to go back in there. I don't know. But anyway, saved me a lot of work. And the one cap in this network doesn't go to ground. It just couples the volume control up to the second detector tube. So it goes on those 2 center lugs. Really is no ground lug on this one. They've used that one as that ground for those 4 capacitors that I showed you. But alright, that one's done. This jumper wire is just one of them 4 caps that's in that metal network that's missing. There are 1, 2, 3, and there's a 4th one. So we'll address that. We got one more of these Bakelite networks to do, that one. But right now it's time for a lunch break. Well, 15 minutes still, so that's close enough. So I'm going to take a break and I'll finish up that other network and then address those 4 capacitors after lunch. Well, I've been trying to trace down what this resistor does. And it's between the A and the B section of this filter cap. Which, what they've done, they put in a replacement filter cap with 2 sections rather than a single section here and a single section here. But I think this resistor has something to do with the aftermarket speaker that they have wired in. Now it's working okay, so I'm not going to bother it, but in looking on the schematic, between the 2 filter caps, on this schematic we have a 5,000 ohm resistor and a 0.5 cap. Now, if I read on the parts list, it says condenser and resistor are not included in current production. So they're not used. But in checking the resistance on this, it's 1,000 ohms. So I'm thinking that's where this is coming from. They have put 1,000 ohms across these 2 leads that go up to the old style speaker. I think that's what that's for. That's just putting 1,000 ohms across those 2 terminals. Like I said, it works okay, so I'm going to leave it. The final look at the chassis underneath. Was able to reposition those 4 caps, make them look a little better. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Fortunately, we had some ground tabs nearby, all 4, so worked out pretty well. And while that's not original underneath the chassis, it wasn't that way. It wasn't original when I bought it, so there's not much I could do about that. But that cleaned it up a lot, redoing those networks and getting all those caps put inside those. So we've got just a little bit of cabinet work to do, not anything major. We'll get this put back together and finish this radio. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, and we'd love it if you would subscribe to our channel. Thanks.